To apply formatting to your text to make it big, bold, and the color red and just beautiful, you can go ahead and click on the text to be able to get the cursor flashing inside of it so you can see the outline of the text box. Then go ahead and click and drag to select the text that you'd like to apply formatting to. When you're done selecting, let go of the mouse and you can see you get what's called the mini formatting toolbar. And it contains some more popular formatting options for your text, like making it B for bold, I for italics, U for underline. You can also change the font type, click on the drop-down arrow, and you can hover over any one of these to get a preview of it over in the working area, as you can see down below there. Or you can go ahead and click and drag the scrolly bar, and when you get to the section that you want to be at, and you want to go down one line at a time, then use the up or down arrow. Or better yet, if you know the name of the font, just go ahead and type it in, M-O-N-O, for Monotype Corsiva. Go ahead and click on it to select it, and hey, it's starting to look fancy. You can also change the size, maybe make it a little bit bigger, and then you can tweak the size to increase it or decrease it. You can also change the font color. Now you can see that there's a red bar below the letter A. That's the default font that's going to be applied to the text. So if you don't want it to be red, then click on the corresponding drop-down arrow and choose another color. Like, let's hover over that one, and you can see in the pop-up, the name of it is Pink Accent 2 Lighter 40%. Oh, that's a fancy name. Let's go ahead and choose that. And then click off. Okay, the only thing that's not working for me is that it's starting to text wrap. Why? When I click on it, you can see that it's got normal room over to the right-hand side because the text box is yay big. So it's starting to stack it vertically and not laying it in a single line horizontally because it doesn't have enough room. To change it, let's go ahead and hover over the right middle resizing handle until I can see arrows pointing in opposite directions. Then click and drag it and stretch it until it collapses into a single line. Let go, click off. Nice. Now when it comes to clicking in here and selecting text that you want to change and it brings up the mini formatting toolbar, if you move away it disappears, move back it doesn't reappear. So if you want it to reappear without having to reselect it, just go ahead and right click on the selection. Okay, sure, it brings up the shortcut menu up above, but you get the mini formatting toolbar down below, so you can click on B for bold. To deselect it, to unbold it, or to rebold it, we'll select it again. And if you want more options than what's available here on the mini formatting toolbar, then come up here to the Home tab in the font group, and you get some of the same formatting options as you saw in the mini formatting toolbar. B for bold, I for italics, but in addition, you get shadow. Ooh. Strike through, click on that, puts a line right through it. So if you had something that says fancy pants and a strike through it, probably means it's no longer available. Or maybe you've got a number here for the retail price and then a strike through it and then the sale price down below. Go ahead and deselect that. You also get the option to clear all formatting. So if you want to remove all of it, instead of having to deselecting like B for bold, clicking on the color drop down arrow and saying that you want black or white, well, it'd have to be white because if I chose black it would disappear. Then come up here and click on clear all formatting and we're back to where we started. So let me go ahead and undo that. So you can go back to the fancy formatting. Then if you want more details than what's available in the font group, then click on its More button. Well, it's not called More, it's the Expandable Dialog Box button. That's a fun name. Go ahead and click on that to expand it. You get a dialog here of other options. Well, you get some of the same options. Like we've got the font type, you can see it there. Also the font style, bold, regular, italic. In addition, you can also do a double strike through. You can do all caps, check it, click okie dokie, and click off. Let me hit undo. Don't like that one. And if you don't have the undo option, then expand it and uncheck all caps, and then click OK. Now I want to change it just for a minute here. When you're going through your presentation, and let's go to slide 2, and I click inside this text box and I want to find out what font's being applied to it, and then just come up here on the Home tab, look in the font group, and it's Times New Roman. Let's go to slide 3, click in here, Times New Roman, and slide 4 looks like it's the same. In any case, if you want to go through your presentation and change all the text that has the font Times New Roman applied to it to another font, instead of selecting the text on each slide and then going into the mini formatting toolbar or up here to change it to another font type, that can take a long time because if you've got a lot of slides, well, let me show you a shortcut. Up here on the Home tab to the Editing group, click on the Replace drop-down arrow and replace fonts. That will replace all the fonts throughout your entire presentation in a single click. Well, first of all, you have to find out what you want to replace. Click on the drop-down arrow. It lists only those fonts that are currently in the presentation, like Calibri, Gonzalez, Colbel, and Monotype. Let's do Times New Roman. And what do I want to change it to? Absalom, absolutely, if I don't find anything else. Okay, never mind. Let's do Absalom. Click Replace. Close out. It's not on slide 1, but slide 2. Hey, it's Absalom. Absolutely on every slide except for slide 1. Of course, I don't want that because it doesn't work for me. Let me hit undo. Or you can do the replace thing again, but I'll hit undo because that's quicker. And now let's say that I want to go ahead and apply everything or all the formatting that I've applied to this text to, well, either the title here or maybe to text on another slide. If you don't know the shortcut, it can be very annoying because, first of all, what's being applied to the text here? I have to remember it by clicking in it and then coming up here in the font group and going, okay, B's highlighted for bold, it's monotype cursive, size 32, the color is, click on the drop down arrow. You can see it's highlighted there, so I have to remember that. I mean, that's going to take too long. Instead, you can use the Format Painter feature, and that can be found up here on the Home tab in the Clipboard group, and it's right there. You can hover over it to learn more about it, get the steps, or I can show you. You can also right-click, and it brings up the mini formatting toolbar with the Format Painter there. So what this does is that whatever you want to copy, the formatting from any of the text throughout the entire presentation, make sure that the cursor is there for the formats you want to copy. Right now, it's everything that's being applied to this word right here, new. So if I right-click on it, bring up the mini formatting toolbar and click on Format Painter, then move off, click off. Well, the problem is that I want to apply it to here, but the mini formatting toolbar got in the way, so when I clicked off, it disappeared. Let's try it again, only this time, instead of bringing up the mini formatting toolbar because it'll get in the way with the line below, I can come up here and click on the Format Painter and then come down here. And notice that my pointer is now a paintbrush with an I-beam. So whatever I click and drag over, it's going to copy wherever my cursor was at, which was in the Our New Training Videos, the text there. Then when I drag it over here, it's going to paint it to the same formatting. Oh, that's fancy. Now notice that the paintbrush disappears. It only has one application. If you want multiple applications without having to come back up here and click on it, then paint, click on it, then paint, then the shortcut, let me hit undo because I don't want to apply it to the title here, is to first, again, click inside the text that you want to copy the formatting therein, and then come up here and double click really fast. And then we can go to another slide even and click and drag, or even double click to apply that to a word, or triple click to apply it to the entire paragraph. And you can see that my brush is still up, or the Format Painter. It'll stay up until I come up here and either deselect the Format Painter or hit the Escape key on the keyboard, and then it disappears. Now here's another shortcut. Like if I go ahead and select Office and I click on the drop down arrow and say, okay, I want you to be the color red, and then I'm like, I'd also like the rest of the text here to be red. The shortcut for that is after you select it, you can just hit the F4 key on the keyboard, and that will repeat the most recent formatting being applied to anywhere else throughout your presentation. And that was applied to Office. Also, you get the option up here, well, there's the undo arrow. This is also the repeat or redo. Right now it's going to redo the action that I just did, which was to repeat the fill color. And by double clicking, I could hit F4, and the shortcut key is what I'm all about instead of coming up here, because that's a long way to go to hit this repeat fill. So you can keep doing that and applying that action throughout the entire presentation until you apply some other formatting. Like if I change it to, let me double click on previews, to a different color, to something turquoise. And let's change this up a bit. Let's also do underline. Now the question I have is which formatting is going to be applied when I select another word or a bunch of text and hit the F4 key on the keyboard, or come up here and click on repeat. What does it say in the pop-up? It's going to repeat the underline because that's the most recent action. It doesn't remember all the actions, just the most recent. So if I hit the F4 key on the keyboard, the most recent was underline. Now here's a trick. If you're going to be applying formatting to one of your slides, a bunch of formatting, and you don't want to have to use the Format Painter, and you want to go right to the next slide and use the F4 key, remember the F4 key only does the most recent that's been applied, except when you come up here, well, let me select some text first. Let's say I want to change the formatting for that text. When you come up here to the font group and expand its dialog box there, all the changes that you make in here, when you hit the F4 key once you're out of it, will accept all those changes. It won't do the most recent one, as it will if you did it from the font group or anywhere outside of this expandable dialog box here of the font group. So for example, if I change it to Times New Roman, and I make it regular text, and I make it something, really teeny tiny. Change the font color to something purple. I'm not sure how well this is going to work, but I'm really trying to make it pop out here. And then click OK. You see that? Let me click off. OK. Double click on Training first. Select some other text, of course, then hit the F4 key on the keyboard. It remembers everything that was applied behind the scenes in its expandable dialog box. So that way, I can do all the customizations in that expandable box or window for the font group and use the F4 key. That way I don't have to use the Format Painter. Other than that, the F4 key only works for the most recent action if it's done outside of that box. Now what would happen if I double click and come up here and click on the repeat? When I click on repeat, it's the same thing as the F4 key. So whatever I can do with the F4 key will also be the same as when I click on the repeat. Now when does it change to the undo? Well, when I do something else besides applying an action, like when I delete that, and I go, uh-oh, I want to undo that. So when I undo the action, it changes from repeat, because you don't want to repeat something that you're undoing, but it converts it from repeating, something like we did with formatting, to a redo. So if you undo something that you did and you want to redo what you undid, then it'll convert to the redo. Right now it can't repeat because we haven't applied anything yet.